Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm very excited to be launching this web series for all of you. Welcome to Soul Therapy, live with me, Harleen Bagga. I am a positive psychologist, multidisciplinary psychotherapist, and a certified life coach specializing in relationship and corporate coaching come counseling. I have 17 years of work experience, having begun my journey as a software engineer in Philips Semiconductors, having worked in Microsoft USA for almost 9 years, and then at a company called Cutting Edge for another 8 years. I do not want the session to be about me. So do check out who I am and my credibility at the video link that I have just posted. One thing I would like to tell you is that the hallmark of a good coach is someone who's been through the ups and downs, someone who understands you, someone who really feels you, right? And that for me is my USP. My biggest USP is my ability to resonate with you, the viewer, and that is my motivation for having taken this course. I hope you stick on. We're going to cover a lot of great information here. Stay tuned. So there's something that I spoke about. I mentioned a word called life coach. What is a life coach? Life coach is basically deliberate decisions taken by two people, one the coach and the other the person himself. And they take those decisions that enable that person to reach their full potential, that enables that person to aspire and dream big and find that path and the courage that essentially works for that person. That is where life coach comes in. It's about a journey of personal growth. That journey could be corporate, could be getting a job, could be finding love, could be becoming independent, could be finding meaning, could be becoming independent, could even be getting on or taking some leadership roles, irrespective of what your journey is and what you want to do. My job as a life coach is to help you get there and to make a plan and define goals and capability on how that can be achieved. You can look and figure that out in the link that I'm going to just send you about personal growth. But one thing I will tell you, right? Like Socrates said, there is only one good, which is knowledge, and one evil, which is ignorance. What that means is for you to grow, for you to evolve, you got to and have to empty your cup. If your cup is full of predefined notions, full of predefined thoughts, ideologies, behaviors, and attitudes, there is nothing anyone can do to help you out. If the cup is full and we are trying to fill it with more positivity, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to overflow. And once it overflows, nothing goes inside. So it's a waste of effort. Keep that in mind. So when you come and seek help, make sure that you are able to empty your cup so that you're able to take in what the other person is saying and actually benefit from it. The other thing that we spoke about is therapy. What is therapy, right? The biggest thing that in India, I know in India especially, we have a stigma about people who are broken, people who need to be mended. That, oh my God, if I go for therapy, it means something is wrong with me. What are people going to say? First things first, there is nothing wrong with anyone. You have a problem, you have a hiccup, you have a hurdle in the journey called life. And to get over that hurdle is why you go to therapy. So going to therapy does not mean you're weak. On the contrary, it means you are confident. You are confident about who you are. You are confident in your abilities and you have the will to succeed. Because you have a will to succeed is why you reach out for help. And reaching out for help is what therapy is about. So you, my friend, are actually better off than your neighbor who is sitting at home and thinking that he is so strong, but really he's the guy who's afraid of failure, not you. Moving on. We have a lot of questions this time, and it's going to be pretty exciting. Can you all message and say hi if you're excited about listening to the questions? Do I have your permission to launch into the questions? If yes, can I get a yes, please? We are going to tackle 7 different questions today, and we will leave 2 questions for the live session where people listening in and tuned in can actually ask any question that they wish. Keep in mind, I do understand this is a sensitive topic. Uh, Therapy, coaching, counseling is extremely sensitive. So I understand your need to be anonymous. If you wish to remain that, I completely get it. I have questions where people have told me already that they are not going to come live and they're going to watch the recorded version later on. I am not offended by it. I respect your decision, but I do hope that you find the courage at some point in time to start joining me live, because change begins with us. Once you change, you will empower people around you to change. All right. First question is by Karthik. He said, I lost my job. Ouch. That's a tough one. Um, Unfortunately, Karthik did not give me any other detail to go with it. Karthik, this answer is for you and for all people out there who are in a similar situation. To start with, I imagine the pain and the heaviness with which you wrote this. Losing a job, especially at a time like this, could be uh, pretty terrible. And it could be a very gruesome experience, and I get that. But what I really think is you should be proud of yourself, because even in the face of a calamity, which is losing your job, you found the courage to reach out and get help. So, kudos, my friend. That shows that you have the mental resilience. That shows that you have the willpower to succeed. And for someone with that kind of mental resilience and willpower, you are destined for a better job that's coming your way. But to answer your question, this is what I want you to do. Number one, and most important, please do not play the victim card. What I mean by that is, don't dig for yourself a well of despair. Don't dig for yourself a well of emotional sympathy. Don't expect and seek from your family and friends fake emotional sympathy, which will give you an instant gratification of feeling good. But in the long run, that sympathy is going to make you weaker. It's going to make you feel sorry for yourself, and it's going to suck everything from you. So, the first advice is, don't be a victim. How do you implement that? Don't seek sympathy. Accept what's happened as a fact, which means that there's nothing you can do about it. It's happened, full stop. Let's look at what the next step needs to be. Second thing, take responsibility and accountability. What do I mean by that? It means do not blame the leadership, the management, the circumstances, or any other factor for what has happened. As humans, we do have a tendency to shift the blame. And we shift the blame because our self worth, our self image, and our self esteem, 3 very important self psychological markers, depend on how we see ourselves. Okay? So I don't want you to uh, shift the blame to these people and say, oh, I am perfect. I would have done everything. I did everything, but it is the circumstances that made this happen. Or it is the management that took the wrong decision. It is the leadership. They are holding on to their appraisals and they don't want to share, which is why attrition has happened. Whatever the reason, we are not getting into that. Take responsibility and accountability that if they decided to let go of you, it was because of one of 2 reasons. One, professionally or personally, you felt inadequate. That does not mean something is wrong with you. It just means that professionally or personally, you have room to grow. That also means you have to introspect, reflect, and think on where you can grow. Rather, what is it that you could have done better? So, the second thing is think about your journey at your workplace and identify 2 to 3 things which you feel you could have done better. Pay attention. I am not saying you were bad at it, you failed at it. All I'm saying is could have done better. It is very important that you train your mind to think like that in a positive fashion, in a manner which enables growth and evolution in your mind and body. The third thing that I want you to do is take time to take stock of your skills, right? Which means that figure out uh, what skills can you add in your bucket right now that will help you. Take this downtime as an opportunity. Shift the negativity into an opportunity. Shift the bad into good. The good is you have the time right now to build on something that you've always wanted to build. And once you build on it, maybe it propels your growth in a fashion that you could not have imagined. Maybe it propels you and you get a job in a better company 2 levels higher than where you were. Anything is possible. It depends on your ability to handle the situation and to grow from here on. Also, take this time to spend time with family. It is an opportune moment to chill, relax, have fun, make those bonds stronger with your family and kids. Um, the other thing that I would want you to do is some meditation or even mindfulness. And the reason why I'm suggesting that, Karthik, is to make sure that you do not succumb or get influenced by the negativity around you. It is easy to say, it is very easy for me to give gyan, but I understand it is very difficult to do. So, to ensure that you remain in a positive state of mind and a state of mind of only personal growth and forward thinkingness, I want you to get into some guided meditation that will help you stay calm. It'll help you relax and it'll help you understand and keep a track of your own issues and your own mindset. Last thing that I want you to do, Karthik, is forget about people. It is their job to talk. Do not let what people think affect you. Do not let what people think change who you are as a person and let it not affect your persona. And please do not carry the stress of what people think back to your home and family. What has happened has happened. We do not get affected by any other external factors. I'll give you my own example at this point, right? So that you understand it. When I was launching this, my friends told me, are you nuts? Are you really serious about going live and talking to the entire world about solutions? I have faith in my knowledge. I have always been a great student, and my penchant for learning has uh, always been great. But my motivation has and is very, very clear, right? So my answer to them is people who are not unha- people are not I'm sorry, people who are unhappy, people who are not happy with what I say will stay that way. I can't change them. But how they think and what they think should not matter to me. Because if my goal is to influence those 10 people who are sending me the questions every week and another 10 who are signing in or listening to my recorded version later on, I have accomplished my goal. That is my goal. That is what I am aiming for. I wish for you to employ that kind of discipline in your life. Find your goal, find your motivation, and once you have found it, come up with a plan. A structure and a routine is key at this point, because if you don't do that, cabin fever can strike you, given that we are in a lockdown situation, and given that you have just lost your job, it can have a ripple effect. So that is something that I want to get out there. Please do have a routine and that routine should involve self development, downtime, some kind of physical activity, and connections. Connections are key, where you are interacting with friends, family, and most important, your children. Moving on to the next question by Renuka. She asks, how to stop recollecting old things that you do not want. Renuka, thank you so much for writing in. Um, See, again, I wish you had given me a little more information, but I will just go with that one question. Against my better judgment, I will presume what you mean by that, and I will try and answer the question making two assumptions. As a counselor and as a psychologist, we do not make assumptions at all or judgments. So I am going against that because there is no way that I can answer your question. The first assumption that I am thinking is, if you are talking about a loss of someone in your life, right? For example, maybe an ex boyfriend. And if you want to stop recollecting thoughts of your ex who is now affecting your current relationship, if that was the context of your question, then this is what I want you to do. On a sheet of paper, I want you to write down why and what were the reasons that you decided to let go of him. I don't want you to do this exercise when you're already feeling lonely and those thoughts are disturbing you. Because when you do this exercise at that point in time, there is oxytocin already in your body and there is a sense of longing. And once there is a sense of longing, you will not be able to do the exercise in the right fashion. I want you to meditate for some time, travel back in time, and understand and go back to when you spent time with your ex. Think about all those issues that you had when you were with your ex. And now, when you are in that moment where you're figuring out how the issues that you had, the problems you had, now is when I want you to take that piece of paper and write down all the points. What made you become averse to him? What was the reason why you left him? And then, once you have written it down, I want you to read the whole thing and then think about this. How would your life have been if you were still with him? Given this laundry list of issues that you have about your ex, if you had not taken the decision that you took at that point in time, how would you have been? That one exercise will let you know and validate the decision that you have taken. The other thing that I want you to do is uh, think about the validity, right? Why is it that you decided to leave him, right? It could be because of something called as cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance, Renuka, is something where uh, your heart and your mind is at war. What that means is your actions are contrary to what your mind is saying. Let me give you a simple example, right? If you always believed in financial security as a person and you are now in love with someone who is not financially secure, this is a very simple and a classic example. But what happens in this case is your heart is in love, your hormones tell you you're in love, but your mind, who has always held on to different principles for as long as you were mature enough to understand, says that you need to be with a person who is financially secure. So when these two are at loggerheads, you have something called as cognitive dissonance. If that was the reason why you decided to move away from your ex, then I urge you to think about it. Once you are able to understand and go back to your reasons, they will give you the energy, they will re energize you, and hopefully help the thoughts go back. The second assumption that I was talking to you, that I was mentioning, could be maybe digging old graves, which means that maybe getting back to your mind old unhappy memories or incidents with a certain person and letting those unhappy memories affect how you are feeling about that person in the present. What do we do? Most important, find your trigger. Find why. What is the reason that these thoughts are coming back? Is it something that you're doing? Are you not being honest in that relationship? Are you not being fair in that relationship? Are your expectations not correct in that relationship? I want you to find that trigger. If it is something that you are doing, Renuka, then you need to address that. If it is something that the other person is doing, maybe you are insecure regarding the other person because of the history that you've had. And if the other person is continuing on a path which is building those insecurities instead of tearing that down, it is time that you have the discussion with that person. Because moving on in this state is not going to benefit you, not that one person. If uh, that does not work, right? If you are unable to figure out and are unable to channelize the reason and channelize growth and on how to get away from it and above it, then I would recommend that you do take professional help, because living in the past, living with past memories can have a domino effect, not only on you, but also on the people around you, and it can destroy all that you hold close to you. So, given what you have given me, that is what I have in mind. So, just to recap, find your trigger, fix that trigger, right? And if it is a person that you decided to leave, identify and validate the reasons on why you took that decision. Once those reasons remain true, and if the reasons are still true in your current scenario, they will give you enough leverage and meat to be able to move ahead. But bottom line is, find that trigger, find out why you're unhappy and why are those old memories coming back to your life despite what you want. Third question I have is, I have panic attacks, by an anonymous person. Uh, there is no real pattern to the panic attacks. There is no information that has been given to me. So this is what I'm going to tell you, right? A panic attack is essentially your body reacting to some pattern or environment variable that triggers this insane feeling of fear or danger in your environment when nothing exists. Panic attacks can be extremely tiring and exhausting, mentally, physically, and emotionally. So it is something that is serious, legit, and needs to be addressed. The first suggestion that I would want to do for you, or for anyone that has panic attacks, is seek help from a family member or a friend to identify the pattern in which or against which your panic attack takes birth. What I mean is, have a journal with you and give responsibility to this certain member who is with you or around you most of the time. And once a panic attack comes on, let that person make a note of everything. And when you make a note, I want you to make mindful notes using, excuse me, all your five senses. So what do you see in that environment? What color clothes are the people wearing? What color clothes you were wearing when you got a panic attack? Was there any loud noises, sounds, soft sounds, music? What was the auditory experience in that environment? Then smell. Was there any smell in the air? Was there a whiff? Was there garbage? Whatever. What was the smell in that environment before you got that panic attack? The fourth is taste. Were you eating something when the panic attack got on? Or maybe you were in an environment, maybe you were on the beach and you could taste the salt of the in the air in your tongue. So talk about the taste. And the last is the texture. and the feeling, right? Where were you? Was your environment one where there was enough space? Were you congested? Were you feeling something? Was there some texture that was rubbing against you at that point of time? Was someone leaning on you? Were you touching something? Once you identify and write down all of that data in that journal, and you have about 10 to 15 data entries, you or any counselor will be able to identify your trigger points, and that is one way to heal you from inside out. Because I don't want to give you medicines. I do not want to give you antidepressants. I don't want to give you anti anxiety pills, which is something I'm assuming you already must be on. My methodology of curing is curing people from inside out. It is to understand why it is happening, go to the origin, and nip the issue at its bud. And this is one reason to find where and how it's originating. Second, how to handle a panic attack when it comes on. Very simple, invest in gum, your favorite flavor of gum. When a panic attack comes on, if you are not able to, tell this person who's around you to just put a large piece of gum or maybe 2 or 3 sticks of gum in your mouth. Start chewing. The more you chew, the better it'll help you. Why, you ask? Well, a panic attack is a fight or a flight response by the body. What that means is there is a surge of norepinephrine in your body and adrenaline, which puts your body on a fight stance, right? And once your body is in a fight stance, ready to face danger, it is cutting supplies from all the other organs of your body. So everything else is slowing down. The only part of the body that is getting this energy is your brain. So when you start chewing, you are basically releasing and activating the digestive system. And if your body is in a fight response, your digestive system should not be working. So what you're doing is tricking your mind into believing that, hey, mind, hey, buddy, I'm fine. See, I'm chewing. See, I'm eating. So you know what? Give me some resources. So the digestive system sends those messages and signals to the brain and asks the brain to release the resources. And once the resources are released, it has come out of that fight or flight lock. And once you are out of that fight or flight lock situation, that's when your panic attack or anxiety attack starts to come down. So the solution is to chew gum. I hope this is being helpful and you are going to take advantage of this. My next question is, okay, this is an interesting one. My husband is having an affair for the last 2 years with someone from his office. I have 2 kids. Left my job to stay at home to take care of the kids. What do I do? There are unfortunately a lot of people, a lot of clients that I am seeing who are in a typical situation of infidelity and betrayal. So my answer, though categorically for the person who wrote in, who is anonymous by the way, will also apply to all those people who are in a similar situation and are undergoing a similar experience. First, let's start with the science behind it. Okay. Relationships are handled by 3 different brain functions. There is lust, romantic love, and attachment. So the 3 systems coexist in parallel, handled independently. What does that mean? It means that there are coexisting. And if they are coexisting, anybody is capable of having 3 relationships theoretically in parallel, one for lust, one for romantic love, and one for attachment. If that is the case, what do you need to do? So this is a wake-up call to all those people in a committed relationship. Keep this in mind, that our brain functions in these three categories. So when you are committed to someone, when you are in a relationship with someone, make sure you are checking all those three boxes. There are so many marriages today where there is attachment, which is your duty, where you're just living your life and you're just married together and staying together for the purpose of duty or the purpose of attachment. And well, there is lust because there's on and off sexual activity. But the second category of romantic love is missing. And when that is missing, there is no zing in the relationship. There is no happiness in the relationship. The marriage becomes a chore where you're doing what you're doing, and you then convince yourself, oh, we are old. This romantic love and this fun and this excitement is not for us anymore. It's for you younger kids. No, that's wrong. This is a wake up call to all of you to invest in your partners and make sure that you are checking and paying attention to all those three categories. The biggest problem here is the lust, the guy with the lust, right? He is the elephant in the room because he has the power to hijack romantic love and attachment. Why do I say that? When you orgasm, dopamine is released. Dopamine is what causes romantic love. So during the act, it is quite possible that you feel in the heat of the moment that sense of love or romance with that person. Second point, during orgasm, also oxytocin is released. Oxytocin is that hormone that causes attachment. It is the hormone that makes you want to be with someone, always, that makes you miss that person when you're away from that person. So, lust can hijack into attachment as well, which is why sometimes you see a casual affair ricochets or rolls into something that is bigger. It rolls into love and it rolls into even a marriage breaking houses. So, this is something that I want all of you to keep in mind. Coming to your questions. Uh, First of all, I am assuming that you had the discussion with him. And when you had the discussion with him, he promised you that he is going to change or he is going to do something about it, which is why you have written to me and you have asked me, what do I do? Otherwise, you would have probably gone to a legal counselor and gone that route. Um, One thing I want to tell you, right, that I want you to shut the noise off your mind, especially where this question is concerned. Anyone who is undergoing infidelity, unfortunately, the people around them give them the advice, which is very feministic centric, where they say, "Oh my God, how can you allow this to happen? Oh my God, you have to reciprocate. If he has done that to you, you have to make him pay for it. You have to cause double the pain. You cannot keep quiet. Get out of the house right now. Leave. Abandon him," and all kind of nonsense. Please shut that noise. It goes back to the question of your cup being full. I want you to empty your cup and then do what I'm asking you to do. Only then you will be able to truly help yourself and understand what you want. First step in your journey to become better is uh, ask yourself, does he love you? You just told me that the affair happened for 2 years. In those 2 years, think about how his response and relationship with you was. Was he happy with you? Was he finding time for you? Was he able to love you? Was he loving those two children uh, that both of you have together? How was your intimacy? Did you share a relationship that was healthy and happy in those 2 years? Think about it and hold on to that thought. Second, what I want you to do is um, if the answer is no, where your relationship is not good, then really the solution is pretty apparent. You probably have to walk out of that relationship and you have to take a legal course. And so, what I'm going to say next is not going to help you. However, if your answer is positive and you say, you know what, he actually did love me and pay attention to me, This is what I want you to do. Look into yourself, do some soul searching, and ask yourself, do you love this man? Why do you love this man? Are you still capable of loving this man? I want you to then take a sheet of paper and make two columns. On one side, on one column, I want you to write uh, why I love this man, right? And the second column, I want you to write about his qualities that you admire. Take the time and write it down. The moment we do most of the exercise in a written fashion is to appeal to the subconscious mind, and that is where neurolinguistic programming comes into play. Uh, it is one of the techniques. If you start doing and begin doing, you will realize that it has almost 100% efficiency and success rate. The next thing that I want you to do is um, read the answers that you have written, reflect on it, and then ask yourself, are you able to give him a second chance? Are your answers compelling enough for you to still feel for him, have that kind of emotion for him? And are you willing to give him a second chance? If you are willing to give him a second chance, this is what I want you to think about. This is step number 3. Um, Keep one thing in mind if you're going to give him a second chance, right? If his relationship ran for 2 years, it means that it was more than lust, could have been more than lust. It could have been romantic love and or even attachment. It could mean that he cared for that person and actually loved that person, or really it was just a call of physical intimacy. I need you to understand that. If his relationship in that affair was more of just a lust and romantic love, the victory is still yours. If you so want and you are so determined, you can still win over that by taking care of him and doing what I'm going to ask you to do. Second, when you have the conversation with him again about forgiving him and seeing what he can do to repent, I want you to test him and ask him if he is willing to change his job for you and change the city for you. The reason is, if he has been having an affair for 2 years with that woman, they together have systems in place to meet undercover without anyone else getting to know. So, as long as you're in the same city, as long as he's in the same job, which is where the lady works, there is temptation in the proximity. And where there is temptation, the probability of him faltering again, having done it already, is very high. So we need to remove him from a place of temptation. Third thing I want you to think about, which is most important, understand why the affair happened in the first place. What did you do which pushed him away? You know now, given the signs, that those are the 3 things you want to do: induce romantic love, uh, induce attachment is already there because he did not decide to go, right? He told you that he still wants to stay on. So it is your job to induce and bring that zing into your relationship. And once you do that, it'll be reason enough for him to forget about the other woman. Whatever you do, most important, do not behave like a victim. He cheated on you. It's not your fault. You are not the victim. What I don't want you to do is feel angry, upset, and go to him and lash out at him. However angry and upset you are, it is very important for you to have some kind of restraint. This is the time to be intelligent. This is the time to use sensibility, not emotions. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is, you spoke about you leaving your job. Does that mean you regret it? Does that mean that you want to get back to being financially independent? If that is something that you want, then I urge you to take this time and opportunity to get back to work, develop those skills, and get back to work, because maybe that is something that your husband will like. Maybe that is one of the reasons that attracted him to that other lady, where she was independent and capable of taking her own decisions. When he sees you working and sees you confident and sees you going out and climbing mountains, it's going to increase that desire in him and thereby increase your romantic love. So these are the things that you need to keep in mind. If for whatever reason things don't work, you have a tough job ahead of you, right? It is very easy for me to say to stay strong, but I can understand the emotional turmoil that you're going to go uh, with. Please seek professional help. What we don't want is your insecurities to grow because of his mistakes. His actions and his act should not affect the kind of person that you are. And if you feel that is happening, please go to a professional. It does not have to be me, it could be anyone else, but go and get that help, because help only when it's timely makes a difference. Okay, my next question is, there is no feeling when we do it anymore. Hmm. This is a very common question that I get. I want all of you to open that Facebook link that I just sent out. This question was answered on my Facebook page a couple of months ago, because I had different versions of the same question. My solution to you is uh, my solution to you is this, right? Which is, physical intimacy is not just about doing the act. You don't enjoy it because you are focusing too much on the physical aspect of it. Intimacy, my friends, is both emotional and physical. It is about feeling that connect. When you are talking to someone you are affectionate about, oxytocin is released. And that makes you feel good about being that with that person. And when you are away from that person, oxytocin is released further, and that want is created where you want to go back to that person. That is emotional intimacy. If one is not emotionally bonded, then your act, unfortunately, is just an act. It is an animal instinct that you guys are just getting done with. Unfortunately, it is a physical activity to de-stress, where endorphins are released and you feel happy in the moment, and that's it. So your problem, friend, is that you need to build on different techniques on how to build emotional and mental intimacy. The way to do that, I have listed a lot of things in my Facebook post. I'm just going to go over a few right now. First, dress in a way that is appealing to the other person. Dress to look presentable. It is not okay to be in pajamas all the time, right? Pajamas is off putting. It is okay to be who you are, but once in a while, dress to impress. Second thing I want you to do is allocate 1 weekday, 1 weeknight for each other. Call it your date night. Dress for the other person. Go out for dinner. If your children are small and you're unable to go out, because I know a lot of these, excuse me, issues are also with new moms based on the clientele that I'm seeing. If you are unable to step out, my friends, that's all right. Call dinner from outside or cook at home. Irrelevant. Choose to spend time with each other. If you're too exhausted to do anything, no problem. But cuddle, hold hands, get intimate emotionally and physically. See where the conversation leads you to. If something happens, fine. If it doesn't happen, also fine. One thing that is most important, the other thing that I want you to do is hug and touch. During the week, keep that touch alive. I cannot tell you how important that one tip is to keep that romantic love or zing in your relationship. During the week, make sure you touch your spouse's cheek, shoulder, leg, any part of the body, I don't care. But keep the magic of touch alive. You need the other person to remember what it is to be touch to keep the desire active and flowing. Hug your spouse as often as possible. Tell them it gives you energy. By doing that, you're doing two things. One, you are training your own subconscious mind to create an emotional dependency on that person, which is not bad in a relationship. Once you're creating that dependency and that person actually hugs you, you do feel energized. The second thing is you are telling the other person that you need them. You are creating a need in the mind of the other person. Who doesn't like to be valued? Who doesn't like to be wanted? Once you convey that to your spouse or that to your partner, this automatically leads you on a road of emotional and mental intimacy. Other thing, show your kids healthy affection, please, which means that hugs, kisses, saying I love you every day is important. This also will make sure that your kids grow up in a very balanced way emotionally and mentally, because it is important for them to see affection at home. There are a lot more points on the Facebook page. You could read that, and I hope it helps you build on what needs to be done. And the other thing I want to tell you before you go is definitely compliment and acknowledge. If your spouse or partner is tired, if your spouse or partner has done something, acknowledge both. Acknowledge the good when they have done something that makes you feel happy. Acknowledge the bad when they are upset, when they are tired. Also, acknowledge when you are upset. Let them know. Nobody can get into your mind and figure out what's happening. Let your partner know, you know what, I'm just tired. I've had a bad day at work. Give me some time and I'll get back to you. That's perfectly okay. It is better that you talk rather than create these discrepancies and distances between both of you. Once you have that emotional and mental bond set up, it's going to make your act more worthwhile and more pleasurable. My next question is by Kumar. He says, I lost someone recently. I am very sorry for your loss, Kumar. And thank you so much for writing in. My prayers and my wishes are with you at this point in time. I am not going to start by saying it is okay, because it's not okay. Losing someone you love, someone you care for, is not okay. And it's definitely not okay to not have that person around you anymore. So that cliche response is not something that I'm going to give you. But what I will tell you is that I can help you. Your friends can help you. You can help you find courage to move on in a fashion that will benefit you the most. This is my advice to you. Number one, I want you to cry, vent your emotions, talk about that person. Find a family member or a close friend and just vent your heart out. Doing that releases the grief from your body and releases your brain of all that pressure and tension that you're holding on to. Do that. Take your time. It takes you an hour, it takes you 2 hours, it takes you 5 hours. Give a heads up to that person that this is what you're going to do. If you cannot find anyone who can help you do that, please find a grief counselor, but get it out of your system. Second thing that I want you to do is, again, on a sheet of paper, right? Write down all the things that you loved about that person, right? Everything that you loved about that person. And uh, write down all the things that they loved about you. So you have 2 columns on that sheet of paper. Once that is done, I want you to read it, right? And reflect on what you've just written. Because what you've just written, my friend, is the things that they loved about you. So if they loved you being energetic, if they loved you being happy, if they loved you being ambitious, if they loved you being a great parent, a good friend, or whatever it is, it is energy, it is motivation for you to continue to do that as a legacy to them, out of respect to them. Use that sheet of paper as your motivation. Every time you feel yourself dipping down, take out that sheet of paper and remind yourself that person would have wanted you to do differently. Once you're done reflecting on this, I also want you to make a third column on that sheet of paper, which is what would that person have wanted you to do in life? So, what did that person expect you to do, or what would they have wanted for you to do in life? Would they want for you to become successful? Would they want you to change a city, grow in a job, become ambitious, become a parent? I don't know who we're talking about because you have not given me information. But when you write this third column about what that person would have wanted you to do and what would have given that person happiness seeing you do, that is your clue. That is your motivation. That is your energy. That is your insta power that will tell you that get up and walk, right? So every time you catch yourself falling down into that spiral, bring out that sheet of paper and tell yourself, no, they would not have wanted me to do that. Find the courage. Again, easier said than done, but these are just some techniques to do that once you're over your initial curve of grief. To get over the grief, the one thing that I would want you to do is a meditation and some mindfulness. Mindfulness and meditation helps a lot in getting over your grief and finding your core and your compass within. So you could use a lot of the free resources on guided meditation out there. Mindfulness and meditation is something that we also do at Soul Therapy. It really doesn't matter what you do, but that is one of the suggestions that I would want you to definitely take care of. Uh, the next question that I have is a rather long one sent to me anonymously on email. And I'm going to just bring up that email so that I can read the entire question. Uh, this person says, "Hi, Harleen. I have been following you on your official FB page and YouTube for quite a while. Thank you for your valuable contribution. I would like to ask a question anonymously. I am a 35-year-old man, married and have two kids. Before marriage, I had a few serious but failed relationships, so I decided to go for an arranged marriage. I got married at the age of 29. At that moment, I was not very keen to get married, but I did it anyway because of family pressure. I agreed to marry my wife based on 1.5 hours of a single meeting. Things have largely been okay in a married life for the first few years. Then I started to feel resentment about being married too soon. Too much financial pressure, aggression issues from the wife. She is short tempered. I somehow managed to deal with all of that. I live with my parents in a comfortable house now, for which I had to go through a lot of financial struggle to purchase around 3 years back. Another issue that bothers me the most is because of her aggression, my wife misbehaves with my parents at a time which is the major pain point which makes me resent my marriage. I have tried to confront my wife many times, but she believes that she is always right. She refused to get any professional counseling, so I have to counsel her and calm her many times. Around 2 years back, I reunited with an old friend of mine. She is my age. We have worked together 10 years back. She lives in another city a few hours flight away, so we are not in physical proximity. She is divorced with a son, and we have been really good friends when we were colleagues. So I started treating her as an emotional anchor, sharing too much of my thought and feeling with her, which made me emotionally distant from my wife. I gave her undue importance in my life, and we got quite attached to each other talking on the phone. Wife got suspicious and confronted me. I told my wife there is nothing going on, and thereafter I reduced my communication with this friend. But somehow, and this is where the question is, but somehow I keep comparing this friend to my wife and I feel more unhappy in this process. I know all what ifs can't be answered, but I feel I have made a mistake getting married too early and ending up with a person who I did not know too well. I want to move on and accept my present and not keep comparing things. I'm still in touch with my friend, but don't communicate that much. How should I deal with the situation and make things better? It is affecting my peace, hence my health, life, and profession too. Thank you so much for that amazing email and all that details. And to all you viewers out there who are watching this live and who are going to watch the recorded show later on, I want you to send me details in that fashion because only then I can really help you. Okay, Anonymous, to answer your question, first and foremost, do you love your wife? Right? The answer needs to be instinctive. Yes or no. I don't want you to think about the problems, think about issues, bring up thoughts and justifications. A simple yes or no. Do you love your wife? I'm assuming the answer is yes, because she is the reason you decided to lower your communication with that friend. With that assumption, I'm going to go to my next suggestion to you. The core issue in your case, based on what you've written alone, see, I can't read you because you're not in front of me right now. But the core issue, in my opinion, is you are hanging on to you being a victim. You are hanging on to a victim card of getting duped at the age of 29. You are not taking responsibility for that decision. Yes, it happened 9 years ago, but 29 is not the same as being a teenager. You met your wife and spoke to her for 1.5 hours. You liked something about her. Yes, it was not a long time, but you liked the way she looked, how she came across, how she spoke, because an hour and a half, my friend, is much more than what your parents had when they got married. It's not a reason, but I'm just contrasting that behavior. So eventually, yes, there might have been pressure from your parents, but eventually the decision was yours to get married. And if you don't take responsibility and accountability for that decision, there is nothing that anyone can do for you. Change begins within you. Change means recognizing and accepting where and when something is wrong. In your case, this is your core issue. Second thing is you told me that your wife got aggressive and the first few years of your marriage were fine. So, my question to you is, was your wife aggressive in the first years of marriage? Why were the first 2 years of marriage fine, largely okay? What changed? This is time for some hard introspection. It is not easy. It is definitely not easy accepting where you are wrong. But unless and until you don't recognize and accept, you cannot investigate and you cannot change. I am sorry for doing this with you. If you're able to do this by yourself alone, kindly do this, follow these steps, and I'm sure you will benefit from it. If you find it difficult to do that alone, I would suggest that you seek the help of a counselor. Again, it is not important that you come to me. You can go to any counselor that you trust, but that is the only way of coming out of this hole. Coming back to what I was saying, a trigger happened which flipped your wife's attitude and made her more aggressive than she was before. What was that trigger? Was it something that you did? Was it something that she did? Why did those insecurities come into play? Right? Why is it that you are leaning towards your friend and not your wife? Is it because you are treating and looking at your wife as a husband? You have high expectations from her as a as a father of your children and as a son of the parents who are living with you? Are those expectations coming in the way of you having that romantic love and zing with your wife? Are you able, most importantly, to treat and view your wife as a friend? See, when you're speaking to a friend, you are treating your friend as an equal. You're giving the friend the right to correct you, to do musty with you, to pull your leg, to even sometimes insult you and a bit of that sarcastic humor. Indian husbands don't allow that with your wife. But if you're expecting that kind of zing to come out of your wife, but you are throttling her and not giving her that kind of freedom, how do you expect her to uh, give you that zing? She cannot be your friend unless and until you don't give her the space for it. She cannot be sarcastic and naughty and notorious and bashful, if that's what you like, unless and until you don't give her the freedom to do it. She is insecure. You have probably led her to her feeling that way, which is why she is responding and reacting in an aggressive fashion. It is time for you to think about what that was. Go back in time to when that started. Probably even sit down with your wife and talk to her. I would recommend a heart to heart conversation with her. It'll help both of you time travel, understand where the issue happened, and then together traverse this path on healing. Healing is important to you. That is the only reason you have written to me. That is the only reason you have let go of that communication with your friend. So I do admire that moral compass within you. I do admire that sense of discipline that you have. Hold on to that discipline and do what is needed with your wife. Next, what I want you to do is um, where comparisons are concerned. You said that explicitly comparisons are being made. I want you to make a list of things that this person has, that this friend has, that you like, right? And then make a list of things that your wife has. Something that I just said earlier will come into play now. Once you have the list written down, I want you as a husband to think, what do you need to do for her to get from A to B? Is she really in the B block? But because of the environment at home, because of your expectations, because she's a wife and a daughter in law and a mother, you are preventing and have created a boundary around her for which she is unable to make the decision to be. Also, reflect on the fact and pay attention to all these points under column A. Think about why you love her. Think about what it means to you if you don't have this anymore. This is your chance to capitalize on your attachment part of the brain. You are probably getting the romantic love from the other person, your friend, but lust and attachment still belong to you. Romantic love is very, very easy to create. Please also read the the Facebook post that I just posted in the video on the tips and tricks that you need to do to keep the zing alive in a marriage. I hope that you are able to do that. And I am very, very, very confident that if you do this exercise in a sincere fashion, it will benefit you. It will make you realize where the discrepancies are, where the gap is. And once you identify the gap, my friend, only then you will be able to plug it. I wish you all the best and blessings as well. With that, we have come to the end of this session. If there are any questions out there, let me know. I think it has been a long session. We went much over than what we had planned, but there were a lot of questions, and I needed at least those questions answered because I know these people were banking on my reply and my response. That is it for next week. Please send in your questions to all the details that are mentioned in the description below. We will have another session, a heartfulness and soulfulness session, where we will answer your questions. We will also become and make this more reactive and instantaneous as we proceed, which means that I will give you the opportunity to call me on the phone and we can actually tackle your issue to the depth that it deserves in time to come instead of just doing a superficial answer like we have done right now. Follow the answers, um, reflect, review, and more power to all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Good night for now. I will see you next week, same time on Thursday. Bye bye.